Greetings all, my name is Jason Colyer. I'm the Support Operations Manager here at GitLab, and today we're going to cover managing event types. So let me share my screen and we will get started. First thing we're going to do is going to go ahead and go to an event. We created this test event last time, so that's a good way to do it. This will start with you really editing anything. So you'll hover over your event, go to this gear icon and click edit. Now from here, you'll be brought up to this editor page, which looks very familiar if you've created an event because it's what the event ends on. Now, there are a lot of sections here and there's a lot of details to go into. The what event is this? It's like when you created it, you're giving it a name, a description or instructions, and you're setting the event link and the color. Very simple, and that's all there is to it. Make any edits, click save and close. And that is all there is to that section. The bigger, more complex section, arguably the most complicated section of all of these different sections with editing and managing events, is going to be when can people book this event? There's a lot to this. It can be pretty complex. There's a lot of nuance to it. I recommend pairing with somebody when you're first learning this to get the hang of it. But generally speaking, you can see how right now everything's saying 9 to 17, everything's in UTC time. But if we select one of these boxes here, and we'll click this one right here, you'll notice how what it's saying is 9 to 17, 107 of 107, and we can see how every person is slotted into this time slot. That means from 9 to 17, if you went to select an event, it's going to check all of these people's availabilities and say any one of these people could be selected for this meeting. Now, we may not want that. We might want to clear it out, select specific people like this, and then we could go to the bottom and save there. And there's a lot of people, so scroll way down, and you can then come to your options here of apply only to the 23rd, which is the day we clicked, apply to every single Monday because the day we clicked is Monday, or you could click apply to multiple and then select what days this will do it. And there's the repeating days of the week. We can set specific dates that we're actually selecting for this. There's a lot of different options there. Now, usually you're not going to have this huge block here like this. What you'd instead, because we're a global team, we've got people in every region, what I'm available for may not be what like Alyssa is available for. So we may have to adjust this a bit. So what you might end up doing is actually setting up intervals of, let's do midnight to 8 a.m. We'll get rid of this one by default. What we'll do is add a new one. We'll do 8 to 4 p.m. And then we'll do a new one, which is 4 p.m. to midnight. Now, what this has done is given us time slots for all of this. And just for sake of this, let's clear everyone out for this. All right, clear everyone out. And let's actually have this apply to Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. It's going to do every single one. Now you can see how the UI has changed more. We'll click show more to show more days, but you can see how now there's a lot more to it. If I click show more, it'll show me all the different options. You can also see on a glance where it's saying 0 people there because no one's actually there. So I could, set him there. I could set Alex here. And let's set Anton there. And let's just apply this to Mondays. They only do this on Monday. So now you can see how it's updated to show 1, 1, and because there's more event, more intervals, it's not showing them all. It's important to remember, this is in UTC time. That can be super confusing. We're a global team. Everyone has a different time zone. So you might have to edit this from time to time, especially with things like daylight savings, starting and ending. Availability changing, team changing, new people coming in, people leaving, et cetera, et cetera. That's really how you're editing the actual times you're available for the event. Now, beyond that, there's the date range, which is how far in the future can someone actually book an event. Now, let's say we don't want somebody booking it 60 days in the future. That's a lot. Let's instead say 7. You can book it for 7 days in the future. Now, we can also do business days, which will exclude the weekends and only count Monday through Friday, but that can get confusing. I tend to go with calendar days. You can do a date range where you can basically say they can only book the events, let's say the 1st of September to the end of September. That's all. That's the only days this can be done. Or you can do indefinitely, where they can just book a meeting 10 years in the future. Normally, it depends on the type of event you're making, but try not to allow people to book it so far in the future that everyone forgets what the meeting or event was about. The other thing is the duration of the meeting by default. How long should this meeting be scheduled for? And Calendly gives us the options of 15, 30, 45, and 60 by default, but you absolutely can customize this. So let's say it's a 57-minute meeting. We can absolutely do that. Now, the next section is the buffer time, which is when looking at someone's availability, how much we want to make sure that they're actually free a little before and after the meeting. So let's go ahead and say 5 minutes. And we're going to go ahead and come back and make this 50 just for sake of simple math here, because what we've essentially now done is saying this person has to have an hour block on their calendar that is free, because it's a 50-minute meeting, but they need 5 minutes before and 5 minutes after to give that buffer time. There's also additional rules you can set, such as the start time increments. That's the frequency of available for time slots. By default, it does 30 minutes, but let's say you wanted to give people the option to do it by 5 minutes. You absolutely could. Scheduling conditions, namely, let's say I want to schedule a meeting with somebody. They're like, cool, schedule it for later in the day. They might actually want to have a scheduling condition saying, you can't schedule it within 4 hours of an event start time. Meaning if it's noon right now, I can't schedule it for 3 p.m. I need to at least schedule it for 4 p.m. The maximum allowed events per day for this type of event, that makes it so you can't, let's say it's a big important team meeting, right? Let's say there's a policy to only have 3 big important team meetings a day. So you might actually come in here and say, well, 3, we don't want any more than 3. This will actually block it if somebody tries to do it and force them to schedule it on a different day. Now, the time zone display actually just impacts the display for the person booking the event. You can lock it, but by default, we actually kind of allow it to automatically detect and show the times of the person, the invitee's time zone. It's much nicer on them. They're not having to try to do a bunch of time math. There's also the option to make it a secret event. That's where it is hidden on the main scheduling page. No one can see it. You have to have the direct link to it to actually use it. Once you're done with all that, click Save and Close, and that'll save everything. Now, keep in mind, you have to save and close when editing any of that. It's easy to forget. The next section is the team members and locations. Much like when creating an event, this is where you'll select who's in it. You'll add a location. Remember, by default, it is always Zoom. You might get messages like this where it says, Zoom's not connected to this account. That would absolutely be a great time to reach out to that person and let them know, hey, Zoom's not connected to your Calendly, but it absolutely should be. You might need to get that set up. Any changes there, click Save and Close to apply them. Beyond that, you have the invitee questions. What to put here is going to vary based on the event type itself. It's really hard to determine and just make like a generalized template for it. But some good questions you can kind of normally put in there if it's related to a support customer interaction. You might want to ask for the ticket ID. You might want to ask for the agent they've been discussing this with. Maybe ask if if you cannot use Zoom, please let us know what system you would prefer we use, and we'll see what we can do, stuff like that. But once you're done with that, you would save and close. Again, you just click Add Question, and you've got all these various types. It's going to depend on your situation. You can say if it's required or not. But once you're done with that, you will click Save and Close. Beyond that, you have these 3 options at the bottom here: the notifications, the confirmation, and the collect payments. By default, we do not edit these. For the calendar notifications and calendar policy, we send events via calendar events, and that's pretty much it. You can click the show cancellation. We include cancel and reschedule links in the notifications, but other than that, that's it. That's all we do for that. You shouldn't need to change that. It should default to that naturally. For confirmation page, we use the Calendly confirmation page. We're not using any other feature for that right now, so you shouldn't need to change this either. And for collect payments, we do not collect payments. You actually see it's a pro feature. We need to upgrade to even use it, so you shouldn't need to do any of that either. Beyond that, there is this link up here where you can view the live page. Clicking that will show you what it looks like. Right now, it's telling me it's not valid because the event type is off. If I turn it on, I can go to view live page, and then it'll show it to me where I can start booking events. And that's really all there is to managing them. That gear icon that took us to edit also has the option to delete, deactivate, and all these other settings. There's a lot to this and it takes a lot of time to kind of get the hang of it, learn everything. So feel free to reach out to your fellow support ops team member or myself. Always willing to go through and pair and help you learn this better. I hope you found this useful and educational, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.